My family and I got into e-bikes kind of as a hobby, and we did so on the cheap through Amazon basically. So I'd like to walk you through what to expect and what not to expect if you're going to get into some of the e-bikes at a lower quality or lower cost per se. I have the Oramo Scrambler 100 here. This is a $700 e-bike. Just behind it I have the Allure. They make two models. The name is escaping me of this model, but this too a $700 bike. And then I have the VeloWave Ranger behind that, which is a $1,400 bike. Obviously, the VeloWave Ranger is probably my favorite because I'm a little bit larger guy, but at the same point, most of these bikes are very, very similar, with some of them having a little bit more of oomph per se to them. This Oramo is a 750 watt motor. When you're buying these, look at the watt hour of the battery. That's going to tell you basically how far they're going to go, but in most cases for all of these, they rate them at just about 40 miles if you're using it as a pedal assist. And even as a pedal assist, that means basically you're turning the pedals and it's not going to be just you on the throttle, because all three of these will do throttle. All three of these will go 20 miles an hour with the throttle. The VeloWave and the Allure will get upwards of 27 with pedal assist, meaning as long as you're just turning the tires, the electric motor will push you up to 27 miles per hour. The Oramo is 20 miles an hour throttle or pedal assist. Now you can get these to go faster than that, but not really per se, like downhill in different areas. None of these bikes would be a bike that I would want to use for exercise, meaning when I go out on these, I'm going out to chill out, relax a little bit, go to a friend's house, have a beer, come back, not going out to get any exercise. These are all 70-pound plus bikes. They are not fun to jump. They're not fun to pedal without the battery, and they are just simply heavy. In some of these cases, like the Oramo, small tires. The Allure, very small tires. The VeloWave has much larger tires, very comfortable. But I have to say, all of these that are sitting here, we treat them like we treat our camper, which we say our camper is, it's our junk. So be very careful with it. And we enjoy our junk. No camper per se is really nice or built really well. So when we look at these, we look at them kind of the same way. The Oramo and the Allure are both disc brakes, but they are disc brakes based off of a cable. They do stop well, the brakes squeak, they're not the best, but at the same point in time, the VeloWave has hydraulic brakes, which is nice, much nicer, but at the same point, it doesn't stop as great as you would expect some more expensive ones to stop. The Allure and the VeloWave have adjustable shocks up front, which is awesome. The Allure and VeloWave also have lights, which for us is absolutely amazing because we're out at night moving around, trying to check out wildlife, using them to have fun. Again, not exercise. Let me just bring you in and show you the different screens that you have on each one. Oddly enough, the Oramo probably has the nicest screen. As you can see, it's color, it has everything going through. You can go through the trip, you can go through its odometer, you can, that said it had a light that was going to turn on. There isn't one on this bike. You can go through everything. There's not a ton of miles on this bike, 8.6, and it's because it's smaller, so the less people ride it. With that said, here's your battery fuel meter up top. And then you got 0, which would be 0 helping you as far as the motor, or you can go up to 5. If we look on this side, we have a Shimano shifter, which is 7-speed. It's not great. And then we have the throttle. So you can use this like a motorcycle. And the throttle is basically on or off. It's hard to really hold this at one speed. You kind of got to blip the throttle, and it is not responsive like a motorcycle would be. The Allure has a little bit less of, I guess, a nice screen. It's still decent. You can read it pretty easy. This one says it has 50 miles on it. It has much more than that. I'm not sure if that is some sort of trip gauge or not. But we can easily go on a 20-mile ride in this in one day, and this one's been on multiple of them. Again, same features here. We have a throttle on that side. Brakes are fairly good feeling here, and then we can move up in our different speed ranges, and that is also going to be up in different pedal assist ranges. So very simple and easy to use. Again, same Shimano shifter. Again, none of that is high quality, especially when you look at what you're dealing with in back. The VeloWave is still a smaller screen, albeit in some ways nicer. You can go up between everything on here. This one's saying 60.6 miles, which again, I think is very, very light. Brakes are awesome as far as how they feel. You put mineral oil inside, and you have a little bit better shifter on this side, although the shifter to me means next to nothing. And then you have adjustments for your front shocks. It's a very big and heavy bike. All of them have the motor in the back, and that motor is very, very, very heavy. So in some cases, it's harder for lighter people to take this VeloWave out and use it, where the small tire ones seem to be easier for kids. And I say kids, I'm talking about teenagers, because it's not as top heavy. Everything's a little bit lower to the ground. My wife enjoys the smaller bikes much more than this larger one, and this isn't even a really large bike. Seats on all of these bikes are very comfortable. None of them are small, none of them are racing seats, so that's kind of neat. I like that fact. These are very simple to operate. In fact, most of the time we keep them in a very high gear because you use the throttle to take off, and you can see that it wants to take off because I just spun the throttle. So it's simple for us just to take off and go on the throttle. That way you don't have to do a lot of shifting, which makes the shifter not as important. Now, also when these are on and you have it in some sort of pedal assist gear, if you were to start going, they'll start picking up, and then there it goes, and it'll take off on you, which can be kind of interesting when you're turning, especially with the Aramo, which likes to go right up to about 14 miles an hour right off the bat. So you're cruising. And that kind of brings me around to one of the later things. When you're riding all these bikes together, none of them really have the same speed. The Aramo likes to go from 14 miles an hour up to 20. The Allure, if you're just riding it, will go from 10 miles an hour up to 27. And the VeloWave will do about 11 miles an hour up to 29, depending on what you're doing. And of course, that's going to depend on the different grounds and levels going up and down. So trying to ride directly right next to someone all the time with this is a little more difficult. So a lot of times we'll be one in front, or we'll kind of move back and forth as we go through. The Aramo will be on level 1, the Allure will be on level 2, and they get similar or close to each other, where the VeloWave is usually closer in the numbering system to the Allure. But at the same point, there's so many hills where we're at, it's really hard to show you that. All of these bikes need a lot of adjustments, so you're constantly moving them. In fact, just before I came out here, I had to adjust the stem on the VeloWave. It was loose, and I had to adjust the front tire as far as how much pressure is on the bearings up there, because it was moving around and knocking. Very common. I bet I have adjusted that VeloWave 10 times or so, just about before every ride. I go through and look at them. You're going fast enough on these, and they're not that high of quality that you should take a walk through and look at all these, because if something were to happen at 27 or even 20 miles an hour with these smaller bikes, it isn't going to be pretty. So if you're buying these, not spending a lot of money, make sure you take the time to make sure that the bolts are tight, that the bearings are okay. And in some cases, if you're not good at that, take it to a bike shop, have them roll through these very often and look at it. See if something, just put the brakes on, move them around, see if something's loose. That's very important. I found all these quick adjustments on all these bikes are great, except for the fact that you have to really tighten them up. So sometimes to close the adjustment, you got to put some muscle behind it, because otherwise it'll just sit and drop the handlebars on you as you're riding. There's nuances to it. Again, you're in this kind of with less money. If you were to go with like a Trek or any of those, you're spending $3,500 on the e-bike, and you're still not getting a great one, but you're getting a lot better e-bike than this. Charging these bikes should take around 2 to 3 hours from 0 to full, but with that said, I have not timed it because we ride these, plug them in, and usually are done for the day. We don't come back to them multiple times, but I have plugged a few in and seen that, okay, we're right up to par quickly. If you are a lighter person, like the girls in my family, they can hop on these things and take them out, bring them back. They're still at 100%, 98%, anything. If you're a heavier guy, that's going to take more battery and it's not going to last as long. You know, this one we went for I would say a 10-mile ride on, and along with the Allure. My wife came back, had 98%. I was down to 60. So big difference probably in not only the way we ride, but how much energy it takes to move that amount of weight. And it could be a difference a little bit too in the battery capacities between the two. Don't be afraid of these little bikes, especially this Allure, which has a brake light, it has a light on the front, it has a rack on the back. It's just a little bit different, but at the same point, I think it's probably the highest quality out of all of them, the most adjustable and the least kind of jerky out of each one of these. It's a neat little bike, not overly powerful, not overly underpowered either. It'll get up and really go. If you get past level 3 and you get into 4 and 5, it really picks up and moves. The VeloWave is nice because it's a nice style bike. It's what us in the United States are used to, but I think the quality of parts that are in it in some ways is probably subpar, and you're paying a lot of money for that style and the larger tires. And if you're a smaller person, you're not going to be as comfortable because it's probably an 80-pound bike. Small Oramo works great for teenagers. It's a little bit less peppy, which I think is good because you don't need everybody going out and doing 30 miles an hour on your bike. But at the same point, it is a little more jerky and can be unsafe if you're taking off and doing, a corner right off the bat. If you're doing pedal assist and you want to make a turn and you have it even in level 1, it's going to try to take you from 0 to 14 miles an hour like that in that corner, and can get a little weird. So you have to get used to that pedal assist, because maybe the first time it takes you 2 rotations to get it started, but once that motor starts, maybe a quarter rotation gets it going again. So you have to get used to that, otherwise you could end up in a little bit of a wreck. Again, we use these for fun. I would not want to pedal a single one of these without a battery going. One of our friends rides across the US, or across Michigan, excuse me, from east to west, and I thought that would be awesome to take one of these with me. I have no interest in just pedaling a bike there, but it would be fun just to do it with them, and you'd have to make sure that you had multiple batteries in order to make it, and that just isn't feasible by cost, weight, or any of that stuff. So with that said, they're great for just cruising around your house or going through some great scenic trails that are going to be 30 miles-ish or less, and they're very enjoyable. If I had to pedal them back because I ran out of battery, I'd probably leave it where it was and walk, because it just wouldn't be worth the weight in the amount of pedaling that you have to do, and probably the lower quality of everything is going to make it a little harder than it would on a normal bike. So I've rambled on a lot of things that I found out with e-bikes. If you guys have any questions, leave them below. I'll leave some links to these different bikes that are out there so you can kind of get a feel of what I have and what I'm talking about and the price ranges. But again, glad to answer any questions that I didn't hit on here. Always give us a like in this video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you for your time. Have a great day.